fans.
Welcome to Fan Stream Sports. Nothing but pure sports. This is the JP Show.
JP, it is so good to hear you back on the air.
Stand by.
Now, here's JP.
All right, welcome into the Thursday edition of the JP Peterson Show. I was just saying to Nick, like, man, is it Thursday already? I don't know if it feels like a long week or a short week. I can't decide. It's just, they're all just kind of blend together today, this week. I mean, so much news going on and stuff happening. And we got another 2 hours of great stuff to chat with you about out there. Buccaneers, USF coaching search. There's some weird stories out there today. Weird stories out there today. We got Gators getting arrested for child porn. We got reports of Antonio Brown maybe arrested for domestic abuse. I mean, there's a lot to get through here this morning. Nick Geddes from Outsider.com. Welcome to the show. Good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning. I can't keep up.
I can't.
I just can't keep up. I feel like it's been a very fast week, by the way. It's a Thursday. The weekend is almost here. I got a 4-day vacation coming.
Well, you haven't been living on my Twitter.
So. I'm ready to go. Yeah, I haven't been on your Twitter, so I mean, but.
Yeah. Yeah, lots to get into this morning. And a lot of stuff that, we haven't even gotten to the Tom Brady podcast for Monday night. We had been sitting on that audio for a while, that I think is kind of interesting. Brady's going to talk again today.
Is Byron talking today?
He's scheduled to talk today.
See, I'm more interested in those ones than the Brady pressers every week.
Byron usually happens right before. So as I leave here, I'm going over there to try to get in on that fun and frivolity over there. And I don't know. It feels like a month since Cleveland, though. Doesn't it, though?
It does, and I feel like we're still a good ways away from the Saints here.
From the Saints game,
yes,
on a Monday night. And it doesn't even feel like, wow, big Monday night game coming up against the rival Saints. It's just like,
I'm dreading it.
I was so, and that's kind of the thing. I was so jacked up after Seattle. And Scott Reynolds is going to join us at 10:30 today. We usually have him for a half an hour. That's going to be a fun discussion. And I'm really interested, because he and I are usually on the same page. But also, I think we have this advantage of having great perspective, having covered this team for almost 30 years now. And some of these things seem very familiar, and some of them don't, in terms of bad coaches and bad coaching. And again, I don't think Todd Bowles is a bad coach at all in terms of his ability to, dissect defenses and implement defenses. He's a tremendous defensive coordinator. But as we've seen many times in this league, that does not defensive coordinator success does not ensure head coaching success or any coordinator success. It's just a different gig. And more, it's becoming really evident to me that the missing piece of Bruce Arians was a lot of the secret sauce that made this team go. And that's I don't want to make that seem like Bruce Arians is better than Todd Bowles. Well, as a head coach, that's apparent. I mean, you can't argue that. The data is in. When you look at Todd's situation in the Jets and then being handed a very talented team, and especially offensively, and I know there are different pieces in different parts. It's not the Super Bowl team that Bruce Arians had. I get that. But, changes in personnel happen every week, every moment in football, and you have to adjust as a team. And the Bucs have had 11 games to adjust to missing personnel on offense, still have a tremendous core of talent on offense, and they're getting the same results week in and week out. And sooner or later, you have to say this is a big enough sample size, and this is who they are. And I think this is really very much where Scott Reynolds is. And I think early on in the season, you do play with it. And I think, Brady has always been right when he says you should be, by Thanksgiving, you should know what your identity is, and you should know where you're going and what you do best, and you should be having success with it. And they're not. They're not.
Yeah, it's December now. Yeah. My
It's
clock says
December.
right here it's
That's
December 1st today, believe it or not.
If you don't have an identity, here's what their identity is. We score 17 points a game. And if our defense is lights out, we might win. Yeah. That's their identity.
We're a scared football team.
And we're scared. We're so timid. We might throw an interception. We might fumble. What have you been doing on that front? Well, we don't throw interceptions on this team at all. I mean, these are historic numbers. Well, then what are you afraid of?
Yeah.
It's 4th and 2 at their 37. You need one more score to kind of salt this game away. let's run the offsides play because then we won't fumble and then we can punt and I know I'm not mocking you, Todd. It just that is the signal that you send to your opponent. How do you think the Cleveland Browns felt when they realized that, oh my God, it's 4th and 2 and Tom Brady and they're not going to go for it? Whew. We can get our running game back on the field, then we're wearing down their defense and we can just keep pounding them with get when you it's the same way. I forget who they played now. When Blake Snell was pulled.
The Dodgers, yeah.
Playing when the Dodgers fell when he came out and get that guy out. It's just not to say Kevin Cash is a bad manager or Todd Bowles is a bad coach. These are bad decisions. These are really bad decisions historically. And it's hard to recover from them. And I unfortunately, I look at this game now on Monday and I say, are the Saints favored? I mean, I know that sounds terrible because the Saints are not a very good football team either, but there's one thing I know about the Saints. They play really good defense still, and they rush the quarterback, and they hit Tom Brady a lot. And that's when Tristan Wirfs was in the game. That's when Alex Kappa was in and Ryan Jensen was in and Ali Marpet. Those guys got their lunch handed to them by the Saints. What do you think this group's going to get?
Yeah, and Tom Brady, by the way, since he's been here in Tampa Bay, I think he's only actually played one good game against the Saints, and it was in the playoffs when it mattered. But even like the win this year, even that win, I'm not putting an asterisk on the win by any means, but it was because of the fourth quarter. The defense just started. Jameis started doing Jameis things. Right. Don't let the mistake. The offense scored one touchdown that game,
and so did the defense.
And so did the defense. Okay, so it's not like they were just like they're just barn burning it against the Saints in week 2.
No.
And the Saints always bring it. So I think even though the Saints are a 3-win football team, 4-win football team, 4-win football team, I think they're going to play a lot much better against the Bucs because it's a rivalry game. They always do, and it took a fight, by the way, to change that game. Let's remember that. That's right. And the last time the Saints came into this building, was it 9-0? If I remember correctly, 9-0.
I believe so.
9-0.
Yeah, it is.
And this is a much worse Bucs team.
Yeah, it's a much worse Bucs team, and offensively, obviously, the Saints are struggling, but Cam Jordan, his whole being is wrapped around beating the Bucs and Tom Brady.
Yes.
In a season where it's been very tough for them, they will be up. It's nationally televised. Obviously, it's Monday Night Football. Everybody's going to be watching the Saints. This is a chance for them to kind of save their season. And what do you think they're going to do? They're going to come out and more than anything, they're going to rush the passer.
Yeah, and because
they're going to rush the passer,
and because the Bucs have an inability to put away opponents and trying to get some separation in this dreadful NFC South, the Saints with a win are going to have the same amount of wins as the Bucs. Think about that. The Saints with Andy Dalton at quarterback and all the trouble they've had this year, they can have the same amount of wins as the Bucs if they beat their rival here, something that they know how to do very well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of motivation all of a sudden for the Saints to kind of get things going here.
Yes, there is. Look, this team to me, I thought had turned the corner, and it's the coaching that is killing this team. It is the preparation that is killing this team. I go back to you have a bye week, and you don't even seriously practice on the bye week. You give the guys the whole week off. I mean, I don't understand that. And then you go out and you play like you haven't played in 2 weeks. Your offensive execution is so far off. So far off that not even Mike Evans and Tom Brady are on the same page. It's bizarre, and it's just indicative. What we only see what happens on Sunday, right?
Yeah. That's
the only way we can judge this football team critically, objectively. And what we see is the same thing. This is a dreadful, dreadful offense. It is a defense that gets worn down and can't close games. That's who you are. And you look at this remaining schedule and you say to yourself, yeah, there might be 3 wins there. There might be 3 wins there. You might get Atlanta. You might get the Panthers. You're not beating the 49ers. You're not beating the Bengals. And I really don't think you're beating the Saints either. It's unless there are drastic changes within the coaching staff, which clearly there is not going to be. There have been no announcements about changing of duties. And I never like to advocate for people getting fired, but you can always change. You can change things within the building. You have a lot of different people, and you don't even necessarily have to announce them. I mean, clearly Todd Bowles is a very much a tight, keep everything tight to the chest. And that's fine. That's fine. But you've got to do something demonstratively different on the field that we can see. And we thought we saw that against Seattle, but then reverting back and then doubling down on Monday to reinforce some decisions that are just not acceptable in the modern game. Just shows me that this coaching staff does not really. They're playing to a philosophy that I believe is completely flawed. You cannot play scared in this league. You cannot be scared scared about throwing interceptions. You cannot make rational major game management decisions based on, I don't want to throw an interception, when you have a quarterback that's better at that. He's 218-0 in his career, 218 wins and 0 with a 7-point lead with 2 minutes to go. The reason is because he doesn't turn the ball over, and he's the greatest comeback quarterback in the history of the game, and he's on your team. So you would serve yourself well to use those facts in your favor when making major game management decisions.
Well,
and Todd Bowles, doesn't get that. Didn't see. Well, he doesn't get it because he doubled down on it on Monday. And if that's the way you're going to run this team, you got no chance to win in this league.
And at this point, they're just not going to change. And it's why I'm done coming here on this show and falling for the bait and getting myself excited on Football Fridays. Yep. And picking this team to win. I don't see any reason to pick them to win another game this year. Maybe they're probably going to win maybe more games. It's likely. Yeah. But I'm not picking them to do it because they let you down.
I wouldn't bet on
They
it.
let you down every week.
No.
They let you down every week. Like you said, they're not beating San Francisco when we get there. They're not beating Cincinnati, who's playing, I think, the second best football in the AFC right now behind the Chiefs. They're not doing it. No. And this week, I don't think they're doing it against the Saints. What evidence is there that tells me they're going to turn this around here? None. It's the same. I know we probably sound like a broken record week after week after week, but it's the same issues. And that's what's the most infuriating thing about this. And to your point about Tom Brady not throwing interceptions, it's not, that's what I'm saying. It's not turnover induced, these issues. No, that's what's even more sad. We had a built-in excuse when Jameis Winston was throwing 30 interceptions and having 10 fumbles. It was clear to point out, okay, that's why they're losing football games. Right now, they're just – it's clear that as hell. It's just the coaching staff. This is one of the most horrendous coaching staffs, and there's been a lot. Yeah. There's been a lot in this franchise's history. You can speak to it more than I can because you've been here longer and you've covered the team for 30 years, whatever. But this is one of the worst.
Right. Because those teams that were really, really bad, they didn't have a whole lot of talent.
No.
This team has, I haven't counted it up lately, but I'm guessing at least 10 to 12 guys that have been to the Pro Bowl in their career. I mean, those are difference-making players.
Yep.
And I know Tom Brady is not 34 years old, but he's also the same quarterback that led the league in passing and should have won the MVP last year. And you can't go from number one or number two in the league in scoring to where are they now? 24th in the league or something?
I think they're below that.
Yeah. And you can't. Yes, some of the personnel is different, but personnel changes every year. The core of your team is still the same in terms of the weapons. And you can't go that far down without it being absolutely a coaching issue. I mean, it's just, if you got basically the same characters, core characters, and you fall off that dramatically, then of course it's coach, and you lose your head coach and you replace him with somebody who has a bad track record as a head coach. It's kind of obvious where the problem lies.
Yeah,
really.
The only offenses that are scoring at a rate lower than the Bucs right now, listen to these teams. The Pittsburgh Steelers with the Kenny Pickett and Mitch Trubisky and one of the worst OCs I've ever seen at Matt Canada running it.
And worst offensive line.
Yes.
The dreadful offensive
line. The Los Angeles Rams.
No weapons.
Who have nothing right now that's healthy. They're starting Bryce Perkins.
Right.
The Indianapolis Colts with a ESPN analyst for a head coach and Matt Ryan / Sam Ellinger running quarterback and a 30-year-old offensive coordinator who's never called plays. The Houston Texans, our boy Lovie Smith, with Davis Mills and Kyle Allen, and the Denver Broncos, who are the Bucs are lucky. There's only one more disappointing team in the league right now, and it's the Denver Broncos, and that's where the Bucs are.
Another disaster of a head coaching situation.
And here's what's funny to me: you want to know the team that's just above the Bucs? in scoring offense, which is crazy to see them this low because given their record, the Tennessee Titans.
Well,
But you want to know what's different about them?
they have an identity.
They have an identity,
Yep.
and they have a damn good head coach.
A damn good.
And they know how to win games, and they can do that.
Coach that
the Bucs can't get away with it.
That coach that motivates his players. They play hard and physical every single game. And by the way, I've heard a lot of people. We talked about the Devin White loaf, and we're gonna hear from Devin here in just a second. But there was a play. I don't even think I talked about it this week where Devin. It was a pass out in the flat to a Kareem Hunt. Okay, and Devin ran over there and had him wrapped up on the side, right on the sideline.
Yep, I remember.
And was holding him up for a good 2.5, 3 seconds. And there's nobody in the frame. There's nobody in the frame, and it's a big frame. And it took a second and a half, maybe two, for Carlton Davis to finally show up and help. And I'm like, holy crap. You turn on the tape back on that 2002 defense, and a guy catches the ball in the flat. Immediately, there's 4 guys in the frame. And within a second, there's 6 guys piling on. I mean, these guys aren't running to the football. They're not playing hard. They're not. I mean, yeah, the results aren't bad defensively when you look at the overall numbers. But when you turn on the tape, there's a lot of loafing going on out there,
and a lot of bad tackling technique,
which is effort. There's a lot of bad on this defense. It's hard. I know it's when you look at the offense, you're like, why are you picking on the defense? Well, I mean, just turn on the tape. They're not playing hard. And when you see that, that's coaching. You're either coaching it or allowing it. And that's just unacceptable. And I looked down and I saw 98 barely running. I saw 94 barely running to out to the flat. That's not acceptable. That's not acceptable. And you look at what this team is right now. It's a team. Your quarterback, the GOAT, went on his podcast 10 games into the season and said, our game day effort is embarrassing. That is the number one indictment you can have of a coaching staff. That is, ill prepared. I mean, you can debate whether they run too much on first down. You can debate, whether, there's good sequencing of plays. You can debate, but when you're the guy that's won 7 Super Bowls, who's seen more football than anybody in this league by 10 times in terms of players, says that our game day effort 10 games into the season is embarrassing. I mean, that you can't indict a head coach any more than that. You just can't. And so I think that kind of went out into the atmosphere, and people like, yeah, they haven't been playing. My God.
And can we just also too, and I think this is relevant what I'm about to say because of the reports yesterday that there's all this scuttlebutt that Tom Brady could go back to the Patriots next year. Can we just be honest for a second? Every great coach or every great quarterback needs a great coach, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. Can we just be honest about that?
Yeah.
Bill Belichick needed Tom Brady. Tom Brady needed Bill Belichick and/or a really good Hall of Fame level head coach. That's how this usually works in this league for the most part. And I think Tom Brady undersold the value of having a real head coach, somebody who has credentials around here. So I don't want a lot of people say, well, you don't criticize Tom Brady enough. Well, if I'm going to put a lot of somebody, we do, but a lot of people don't. And I'm just being honest. A lot of these issues were created by him when he came back out of retirement and had to have everything his way. And I told you from the start, there's just too many egos going on. There's too much noise in this offseason. And that's why you're a 5-6 football team. It shows. There's too much going on, and you undersold the value of having a real head coach, not somebody who's 78 games into his tenure and has proven at his first stop that he's just not a head coach. He's a damn good defensive coordinator, but he's not a head coach, and I have no problem saying that. I know he's a nice guy, but
he's a great guy.
It's a results business.
And we're not criticizing him, the man. We're criticizing him, the coach.
No, but I am criticizing Tom Brady for not understanding what he had and what this team had with Bruce Arians.
Well,
because I don't buy for 1 second that I'm getting to the point where I don't buy anything that Bruce Arians said for why he stepped out. I don't buy any of it at the moment.
It's going to be very interesting to see the books that come out after this, hear what Brady's side of it is and Arians' side of it is. Obviously, we're not going to get the truth while they're still playing and they're in the middle of this. I've given you guys my take on what happened there. And, I was out at the Super Bowl when all this stuff was going down, and all the people in the national media, people that we had on our show talking about what was happening with Brady. And of course, it's all going to be speculation because nobody wants to go on the record. So you got to go and get things off the record and give your best analysis of what you think was happening. And I'm here to tell you, and I know it's hard to do this, but if you take Tom Brady's name off of the happenings from this year, I wonder what the view of this said quarterback would be. Okay? So, and these are the facts. These are the facts. Your season ends in the playoffs with a less than impressive offensive performance until the last quarter, and your defense gets 3 big takeaways. You get back in it. That Saints game was headed for one of the biggest ass kickings in history. The Bucs were dead in the water, couldn't move the football. The Rams were doing whatever the hell they wanted until the Bucs got a big turnover, turned the momentum home, and Brady came up with some big plays. There's no question about it. They end up losing the game, but that was – and the bottom line is the offense, the second or the last quarter of the season was not good. It was not good. Go back and look at it. And Brady was disenchanted. Now you throw on top of it all the stuff that was going on in his personal life. And I am convinced, and these are facts, he talked to the Miami Dolphins while he was preparing for the playoffs. He was engaged in a scheme, and to what level, we don't know, but we know that he talked to Stephen Ross, he talked to the Dolphins, he talked to them, and there was major tampering penalties that came down. It wasn't like, hey, what's up, Tommy? How you doing? There were substantial talks while he was working to win a Super Bowl here. That's a fact. And then after the season, and then the Rams game, all that. Then after the season, he, quote, retires. And everybody knows damn well that he wanted to keep playing. He may still want to keep playing. So that wasn't a retirement. What was it? It was part of a scheme to get to Miami because that's where Giselle wanted to live. They're building a house. He could be part owner, all that. Problem was he was still under contract to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So if this is anybody else, everybody's going, what? Oh, my God, how could you portray your team like this? How could you do this? A team you won a Super Bowl with? A coach you won a Super Bowl with? You're under contract. You're scheming. You're doing this retirement thing? Like, how could you? But it's Tom Brady. So it's like, oh, okay, he's the Teflon Don. I get it. So then Bruce Arians, by the way, Bruce Arians was the one who went to the combine and said, yeah, you want Tom Brady? Give me 5 first-round picks. Bruce Arians was having none of this. You're going to retire, and then we're going to go out and get another quarterback, and then we're going to spend all that capital, and then you're going to suddenly unretire, and we're going to just give you away to go to the Miami Dolphins. No. We've seen this before. We're not taking the bait. And so Brady realized that the Bucs were not going to capitulate to his little scheme. So then he had to come back. They put the band back together. Jensen gets hurt, blah, blah, blah. You know the story. And then, take the name off it. Tom Brady, said quarterback, has to leave training camp for 11 days. How's that going to fly? If it's not Tom Brady, it's not going to fly. And the way that Tom has played, so much so that Kurt Warner put out a 25-minute video of Is Brady Broken? And I was talking about it this entire, I was asking Brady questions about the missed reads and the missed throws and everything else. And then and then he's going through a divorce. I mean, of course he was distracted. He was not preparing the way he normally plays. So all of this, goes down. And the bottom line is Bruce Arians was the guy. Bruce Arians was the guy that said no to Tom Brady. And he needs to, sometimes people need to say no to Tom Brady. No, you're not going to run the play in Germany till you can get a catch. No, not at this time. But Todd Bowles doesn't have the cojones to say no to Tom. Nor does Byron Leftwich.
Well, he had the cojones to tell him on 4th and 2 that you're not running a play here.
I guess that's
so
true.
I can't.
And you're not running it, and you're not calling a timeout if we get 1 or 2 yards.
Yeah, I don't know what it is anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah. But the problem, you're right. The problem is Brady is a big part of the problem this year. And the fact that Brady didn't want to.
And not really because of his play, by the way, on the field, I'd argue.
He hasn't played well.
He hasn't played his best, but.
The interception numbers, let's just be honest, are way lower than they should be.
But you could if you go back and look at every quarterback, everybody has that kind of luck that happens to them.
Not to this level. Not to this level. I don't know the numbers. I mean, you could look it up go look up his turnover-worthy plays. That's the PFF number that I want to know. His turnover-worthy plays, I would suggest, are probably in the middle of the pack in terms of quarterbacks. I haven't looked up that number, but that would be my guess. He hasn't played great, but he hasn't had, nobody on this offense has really played great. And and of course the play calling, which I think he has a huge part in. He has a huge part in play calling. But what Tom, it's hard as a quarterback, unless you're in a no huddle situation, to really do the sequencing of plays and be in a mindset where you're setting up a play for the fourth quarter or a third quarter when you're doing it in the first quarter or second quarter. So these are all, next level chess piece things that the OC should be thinking of well ahead of time. That's not because the quarterback has to be in the moment and be making decisions on the field in the moment. He can't be thinking it while he's in the huddle. All right, we're going to run this play now, and then we're going to bring it back out in the third and fourth quarter. That's the job of the offensive coordinator. And I think Tom feels like he should be making all the calls all the time. At least that's what I'm being told, that he has a huge say in everything and all the plays that are called. And this is why I've been less, a critic of Byron Leftwich. I think it's too much Tom Brady, and he needs to stay in his lane, just like Belichick had him stay in his lane. And, he needs a strong head coach that's going to coach him up hard and tell him no. It worked well with Belichick. It worked well with Arians. And it's not working with Bowles because Bowles and Leftwich give him too much leeway. That's my opinion. For me, it's just hard to understand that Byron Leftwich is somehow the guy that's not running this offense. It's hard for me to get there because of how bad it's been. Because, look at all the no huddle stuff, which I think is completely Tom Brady. It's almost ad lib at that point. Yes.
And that's when this offense is running its best.
Absolutely.
And then
I'm not absolving him, but I think everybody that throws it on him and none on Brady is wrong.
No,
it's completely wrong.
I would say, in my opinion, I think it's a nice 75-25 split of Byron Leftwich to Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's 50-50. I think it's 75 Byron and 25 Tom. I just think Byron is so in over his head. I think he's way in over his head for what he's doing. I think in general with this coaching staff, I think these are all friends hires, and friends hires in any business, they don't work. They just don't work for the most part, especially in the National Football League.
Yep.
It's comical. And this is not the way that Tom Brady should go out. This is not how it should be going. This is not how he should be going out.
But Tom needs to realize that. Although I think, is it too late to get Arians back involved?
Yes.
I think you're right.
And he would never do it anyway.
I think you're right. 100%. But at this point, it's broken. It's really broken. If I were the owner, I'd do it. I'm sorry, I would. I got, I'm not in my feels when I'm spending that much money. It's business. It's just business. I would look Todd straight in the eyes and say, hey, listen, man, I gave you a chance. I gave you a great opportunity here. And just after what I've seen, it's just not working. So I'm not going to strip you of your head coaching title, but this point forward, Bruce is going to be running the show. Like, I want it to be exactly the way it was when, not from a public standpoint, but from a private standpoint, whatever you guys were doing the last 2 years in terms of game plans and the dreaded red pen, I want that back. I want him making the calls. I want him leading the team meetings. That's what I want. I'm the owner. I'm paying for this. And I'm going to try to put it back together and save the season because it's still savable. From a record standpoint, it's still savable. But if you continue to do the same things and the same preparation with the same people that you've done so far, it's going to turn out to be the same. And I don't want that because I'm the owner and I'm spending a lot of money. I would make bold changes. Try to keep it as private as possible. But, I might not even do that if I was the owner. I'd just be like, Jeff Saturday. Bruce is coming back, because the result, and it's not my fault. It's your fault. I gave you the opportunity. You have taken this Rolls Royce, or we'll call it a Range Rover. It may because it's not quite the Rolls Royce that we had the Super Bowl with. I get it. There are different, but it's a damn good, expensive car. And, you got it running into the ditch like a Yugo. I'm not going to put up with that. Yeah. Changes need to be made.
Hey, James did chime in here. He said, JP, when TB took 11 days off, you were all in saying mind, body, and soul stuff. So come on.
I was. No, and I've mentioned that before in my criticism. I absolutely. I took the bait. You're absolutely right. And I said I was wrong about that. I said I was wrong. I said, you know what? This should be good. But in hindsight, and I don't even have as much problem with the 11 days off as the message that it sent and what followed that, like it was the attitude of allowing it that has perpetuated through the season.
Well, when I see things,
does that make any sense?
Yes, and when things go wrong, and when I see things like a lack of chemistry between him and Mike Evans,
yeah,
and I see that, and even though he has kind of the designated off day, there's been a lot of times this year, where he still has showed up and practiced anyway. So I think I heard that he's actually practiced more this year.
Yeah.
Than he did last year.
Yeah.
But still, when you see the lack of connection with Mike Evans, I think that's for me where you're just kind of looking, okay, what are we really doing in practice? Are we really maximizing our time here? Because this stuff shouldn't be happening in year 3.
Right. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, Scott Reynolds is going to join us from the Pewter Report. We'll get his take on everything we just said. And I'm not running from what James said. He's absolutely right. But we'll correct that and deal with that as well when we come back. So we are brought to you by Emerging Investigations, emerginginv.com, the best private investigation agency in all of Tampa Bay. Give them a call. Go to emerginginv.com. Get all the information. Then send them an email. Give them a call. Tell them JP sent you. And by the Jeeves Law Group, Jeeves, JeevesLawGroup.com. If you're in an accident or have an issue with your homeowner's insurance or auto insurance, they're the great folks to call. Jeeves Law Group. Back at 3, Scott Reynolds. Stay with us. JP here for the Jeeves Law Group. I've known Scott Jeeves for quite some time, and he's just like us, a huge college football fan. He loves his Gators. In fact, he sponsors our Gator Report every Thursday at 11 o'clock with Scott Carter from FloridaGators.com. But he's not just another PI attorney. He is a ferocious advocate for his clients. Scott Jeeves is a board-certified civil trial lawyer and a certified circuit court mediator practicing in Tampa Bay for over 30 years. He is an AV preeminent rated civil trial lawyer and certified circuit court mediator. Folks, these designations are not just given out. They're given only to the best trial attorneys. But more than anything, Scott takes these cases personally. I've heard it from his clients. He's a fighter you want on your side. Insurance companies hate it when they see you're represented by Jeeves. He's just different. 727-894-2929 or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. That's JeeVes lawgroup.com and tell him JP sent you.
Guys, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Are you experiencing low sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, and you just don't feel like you have the vitality you once had? You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. Do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability. Not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling.
Now is the time to make sure your home insurance is in order. In the last year, many of us have made improvements to our homes. So call the folks at Italiano and discuss these upgrades to make sure you have enough coverage. According to a recent report, almost 64% of homeowners don't have enough insurance on their home, which is their most valuable asset. Also, a great time to make sure you have flood insurance. Even if your mortgage company does not require flood insurance, your home could still be at flood risk. Another big item as we enter hurricane season is making sure your pool enclosure is added to your policy and there will be no issue at claim time. That happens a lot. So call your friendly agent at Italiano Insurance to review your policies today. 813-877-7799 or ItalianoInsurance.com. Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, 1 unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately, or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida.
Coming back at you. Now, more with JP on FanStream Sports. It's only just begun.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. We got some great comments coming in today. James, I'm loving what you're doing, holding me accountable. I love it. We'll get to that in our 11 o'clock hour, so you guys hang in there. William Butler, I see you. Charge On Podcast, I see you. We're going to get to all you people. Great questions, great points. We'll talk it up here. So right now we want to bring in our good friend Scott Reynolds from the Pewter. Talk about it. Feels like, Scotty, good morning to you. It feels like this Cleveland game was years and months ago, as much as we've rehashed it. And the Monday press conference was even we're doubling down.
Yeah.
Look, at that point, I got to tell you, at that point, you know me, I was like, hey, we turned the corner in Seattle.
Yeah.
Against Seattle, I really see this thing taking off.
Yep.
And then even the bad decisions, I'm like, okay, maybe we can fix this. But when he doubles down on it,
Yeah.
it just showed me that he's a conservative, old-minded.
Timeout, JP. Timeout.
You got 2 left.
Sorry,
right?
I got 2 left. How long is this segment going to be? 12 minutes? Okay, I just want to know what my clock is so I can manage it properly. I've got 2 more timeouts now. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I love Todd to death. He's a great human being. But my God, you can't coach scared like that in the NFL.
Well, and you can't have a scared press conference either. Own it, man. It's like Jeff Saturday came out and did it. And listen, I think at the end of the day, and it's like I love women. I'm going to give women credit here. I think women do a much better job of being accountable and saying, "Hey, I made a mistake. I screwed up." No one's perfect, men and women alike.
I'm going there, but
no, I'm just saying. It's like I think that men, yes, there are some, but I think men as a whole have an ego issue, right? Of admitting mistakes and being accountable. And especially in the NFL, it's a very prideful business. You're under a microscope. You don't want to be wrong. You don't want to be, thought of as being stupid or dumb or whatever. But there's a difference between making a dumb mistake and being dumb. Okay. And I'm not calling Todd Bowles dumb, but what I am doing is I'm saying he made a dumb mistake. And if you come out on Monday and say, you know what, boy, I screwed up. I got to be responsible here. I should have called timeout. Okay. That you're admitting you're a dumb mistake. But when you don't do that, you're opening yourself up for others saying that you're just dumb, period. Yeah. And I think that's what's happened to Bowles is he's opened that door where he could have closed it on Monday and just said, hey, I made a mistake. Jeff Saturday did that, man. Yeah. Jeff Saturday's interim head coach who said, man, I'd love to have that situation back. Yeah. And that's the right answer because when you double down and the facts are not on your side at all, no. which here are the big 2 facts. Number one, Todd Bowles, and I asked the question. Yep. And he was stunningly bad with that answer, and I had to come out with the column immediately saying that it was a stunningly bad press conference. When you say, well, we don't want to throw the interception there, and your quarterback leads the league in pass attempts, 470, and you only have 2 interceptions, which is a league low, and you're on a historic pace for throwing the fewest interceptions in a season, right? And you just, forget this season aside. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. Okay, he's great at protecting the football.
He's
always has been.
And in those situations. Yeah. Now 2-8-1.
Right.
And you're the
Then here's the double whammy, guys. The double whammy is the Cleveland Browns have 3 interceptions on the season. 3, and none of those happened on Sunday. Okay, So I don't know which sticky-fingered Browns defensive back Todd Bowles was suddenly worried about, right? But and then here's the third illogical piece of the puzzle. Okay, if you set aside Brady's prowess at not turning the ball over, the Browns' futility at getting interceptions, all right, that's the second piece. The third piece is, I don't know. What did they do on first down? They threw the ball to Rashad White.
Well,
What did they ultimately do on second down? Throw the ball to Julio Jones. What did they do on third down? They threw the ball. I mean, it's like at no point in time did they do anything other than throw the ball on that drive. So for Todd Bowles, I mean, I don't know. Listen, man, that was the second question, right? I think Rick asked the first question about Tristan Wirfs. Okay, that's fine. Second question was, we got to get to the heart of why they lost this game. Because you had a chance to win it with Tom Brady and Ryan Succop. That's a powerful 1-2 punch in that type of situation. It's worked before. I mean, remember the Cowboys game on Thursday night last year to open the season.
Yeah.
Same type of situation. So at some point, I don't know if it's Jason Light. I don't know if it's Nelson Luis, the VP of Communication. At some point, somebody's going to say, Todd, you're going to be asked this question.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, before you go out there and say anything to the press, what's your answer going to be?
Yeah.
And then if he had said that, either Nelson or Jason or Casey Rogers, his trusted friend and defensive coordinator, says, no, Todd, no, that's no.
Incorrect.
We're not going to say that.
Don't do that.
Yeah,
Don't do
but
that.
it was bad. And honestly, it's like, here's what has to happen for Todd Bowles to overcome this. He's got to beat the Saints on Monday night. He's got to sweep them. He's got to make the playoffs and as the division champion. And then maybe you can kind of forget about this because at the end it didn't really matter. But that's a tall order given the fact that Tristan Wirfs is not going to be available on Monday night or probably against the 49ers or the Bengals.
Agree. By the way, Reynolds is on fire today. He is on fire today.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You
Don't
sound
put me out.
Hop in here. Did you want to hop in
No,
here?
I'm just like, you've seen a lot of like coaching staffs come and go, a lot of them
Yes.
actually here in
Yeah.
Tampa Bay.
Yes,
and
we have.
you were mentioning on your podcast, I think on Monday, that there's usually a moment or two
Yep.
that you
Yep.
can you can define. And I could
Yes.
feel it in that press conference.
I
on
could too,
Tuesday.
man. I could feel it. I was like, this is the beginning of the end for Todd Bowles. Like, that's what I
watched it,
felt.
It was like, oh, no, you didn't. Oh,
Yeah.
don't do that. Oh, stop, Todd.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this was like Lovie Smith coming out after the 42-14 loss in 2015, which was his second season as head coach, when Jameis Winston threw a pick six on his first play as an NFL player. And Marcus Mariota, the quarterback they didn't draft, threw 4 touchdowns and just shellacked Lovie Smith and the Buccaneers in that home opener.
They were
season
shocked
opener.
he was running an RPO. It was like,
Exactly, yeah. And then Lovie comes out and says, well, we weren't Tennessee ready. Like, yeah, no shit. I guess you don't have to say that, dude. The scoreboard said it for you. So it to me, I don't know, like,
yeah.
This was I like Todd Bowles a lot. I really want him to succeed. I think
Oh,
that
we all do.
I think that he's good. It's just, man, this is a big mistake that he's going to have to earn a lot of goodwill to overcome this one, right? Because remember the last big mistake was that Rams game, right? That was bad. Like, we're gonna blitz Matthew Stafford,
Yeah.
and he was the best.
Antoine Winfield one-on-one on Cooper Kupp.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah. So
Situation they just need a field goal to win.
right,
So one big play beats you.
yeah. So I'm just saying, it's like now, like how many cats or how many lives does this cat have? Well, he's lost a couple now, right? So you only get so many, and then
you excuse that one because okay, it was a dumb call, but you're not a dumb
Right.
coach. Look at your track record as a
Correct.
defensive coordinator. You're phenomenal.
correct. Yep, you won a Super Bowl, but
Yeah, we got
yeah.
all that. And so that we excuse that because that was
Right.
a moment. But if he came into the press conference and said, "Yeah, that was the right defensive call. We executed everything perfectly,"
Yes.
we would all go, "Whoa, what?
exactly,
What?
exactly.
But he
Yeah.
didn't do that.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. I'm not gonna beat a dead horse, and I'm not saying Todd Bowles is a dead horse, not yet. But I'm curious if someone else brings it up because I brought it up and he answered that, and I did my part on Monday. I want to see if somebody else asks him, "Hey, in hindsight, after your bad press conference, do you want to double down on this or triple down on this again?"
Pull down.
I'm not going to go there, but if somebody else wants to, I'd be curious what Todd's going to say. Or maybe Todd, honestly, if I'm Todd, I say, you know what, you still have a chance to save yourself on this. You still have a chance to say, you know what, like I went back and I thought about what happened on Sunday, and I went back and I watched my own press conference on Monday, and I'm just going to say I made a mistake, and maybe I was coaching scared. If he says that, I will be super impressed. I'm not expecting it. I don't think it's going to happen. But honestly,
the problem is the coach that preaches accountability from his players has none himself. That's it's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. It's never going to happen. They're stuck in their ways. They're stuck in the past.
Right.
It's like we were talking in the first segment. We've seen some awful coaching staffs, but they had less talent than this one.
Yeah.
Much less talent.
And Scott, you know what really, and I love talking big picture with you. We can nitpick some of these other things, but the reason we're talking about the individual parts of it, because it does show a bigger problem.
It does.
Now, as I look back on this Todd Bowles tenure this entire week, and I pointed this out at myself, when the 11 days off for Tom Brady, I was like, it doesn't matter with him. Mind, body, soul. You got to go get right, man, and do your thing. And I was all in on that because I thought that there would be accountability down the line.
Right.
There hasn't been. And you look back on this, you look soft training camp, letting him go do that, letting him take off before the Pittsburgh game and go up and do something and not come back for the Saturday walkthrough. I mean, you look at so many, giving them the week off on the bye week last week when your offense's execution has been terrible. You're allowed to practice 3 days last week. Why were you not practicing last week?
I agree.
That is to me, that is one of the most egregious things. Like, how could, and then you come out and you play like that where your offense looks totally out of sync. Even Mike Evans and Tom, you don't think those guys could have used 3 days of practice?
I agree.
I'm not saying you beat them up and put the pads on, but work on your exexecution.
We talking about practice?
You gave them the whole week off like they're
talking about practice. JP, here's something. I'm just going to throw this out there. How many days off each week does Tom Brady get from practice? 1. He gets 1 day off a week. He didn't practice, I don't think, on Thursdays. I think that's his day off. I have to go back and check the injury reports. But I think he has every Thursday off. Okay. So having said that, if he's not on the same page with Mike Evans, maybe Tom should practice on Thursdays.
Maybe they all should practice on bye weeks.
I'm just saying, it's like, I'm with you. Like, practice during the bye week, right? Say, hey, you're obligated to have this time off. You know what? I'll give you an extra day. You beat the Seahawks. You flew home on the plane. We'll give you an extra day off. So instead of practicing 3 days, we'll practice 2. Like, I think that's fair. If you want to be a good coach, players coach, whatever, that's fair. But the other thing is if my quarterback and star receiver are not on the same page, more than halfway into the 3rd season that they've been together and they desperately need to get on the same page, then yes, I would certainly, most absolutely positively have Tom Brady start practicing on Mondays.
Yes.
Or not Mondays, on Thursdays. Yeah. And I'm going to pull up a stat right here just to kind of stick on this Tom Brady thing, because this is really important. And if you look at Tom Brady and Mike Evans and their connection this year, Brady and Evans have 3 touchdowns together, right? And I'm going to say together because you can't just say Mike Evans has 3 touchdowns. It's Tom Brady has overthrown him and missed him a couple times too. Okay, so they got to be on the same page together. Right. But here's where this is really hurting them this year. If you sit there and say Mike Evans had 14 touchdowns last year, which was he beat his own single season record of 13 the year before in 2020. Mm-hmm. So Evans, 13 touchdowns in 2020, 14 touchdowns last year. He has 3 this year, way off the pace. Okay. And how does that make a difference? Well, if you get a touchdown from Mike Evans rather than a field goal from Ryan Suckup, that's a 4-point differential. Right. And by my calculations, I think if Evans were to keep the pace of the last 2 years, he should have about 8 touchdowns right now. Right. So that's just about 1 more touchdown per game. Here's what it does to a team that's averaging 18 points per game. If you give the Bucs 4 more points per game with that Mike Evans touchdown substituted for a Ryan Suckup field goal, that's a 4-point gain for the Buccaneers. Now they're averaging 22 points per game, which guess what? It's not as good as last year. It's middle of the pack. It's 16th in the league.
Which
You
would
know
be
who
about
they'd be tied with? The Jacksonville Jaguars. They'd be tied with the Jaguars for a mediocre 22 point per game average, which would rank 16th in the league. That's mediocre. But here's what it does for the Bucs season. Then you beat the Green Bay Packers 22-14.
Right.
Then you beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 22-20. Then you beat the Carolina Panthers 22-21. And you probably beat the Cleveland Browns in regulation instead of going into overtime, right?
Yeah.
So now that's generous. I'm giving the Buccaneers 4 more wins because of the misfires between Brady and Evans. Fine, that might be too generous. Cut it in half. Now you're 7 games or 7 wins rather than 5, right? And at 7 wins, this team is games ahead of the competition in the NFC South.
Yes.
They're cruising towards the playoffs at 7-5. And if they stub their toe against, say, the Cleveland or the San Francisco 49ers and the Cincinnati Bengals, still on track to get the playoffs with those 2 extra wins that you've kind of padded. That's where this Brady to Evans Fritz has screwed the Buccaneers offense this year.
And when we look at the macro here, Scott, and I look at how this team played under Bruce Arians and how they're playing now, and I can't help but compare. We just can't.
Sure.
And there is an element, and this was I was talking about in our open. There's an element of what Arians this is where I think this is really broken down.
Yeah.
That he put a check on Tom Brady. And Tom Brady's the greatest guy. He knows more than about everybody. But quarterbacks should not be making the call on all personnel, all plays. When you offensive coordinators have the job of thinking, third, fourth quarter ahead, sequencing plays, quarterback has to stay in the moment. And I believe that Brady's taken too much of this offense on himself. Mm-hmm. He and Byron Leftwich, there is no checks and balances. Whereas Arians was the guy who said no to Tom, no, you can't catch a pass in Germany at this particular time. Sorry, we're not running that play.
Yep.
No on this. This doesn't work with this. This doesn't work with this. We got to do it this way. So whatever checks and balances that Bruce Arians brought to this team, and I think they're significant. There's a lot of things that have happened this year that wouldn't have happened under Bruce. I guarantee you they ain't punting on the Browns' 37-yard line on 4th and 2. Ain't no freaking way.
Right.
So these are all things that I just and if indeed, and we all can debate whether Tom nudged Bruce out or kicked him out, whatever you want to do. Bottom line is this is what Tom wanted. He wanted this Todd Bowles situation. He wanted Bruce Arians out of the way, and it's fallen flat on his face. And I think we want to talk about one moment where this team took the wrong turn, and it was Tom Brady induced, and it was the wrong turn to take. Well, I'm working on that as my theory that's my working theory at this point of why this has gone so poorly.
It's really been an avalanche, right? It started in March when Ali Marpet retired, right? Yes. And I'm forget the whole Tom Brady retirement. He ultimately played, right? But I'm just saying that he ultimately came back, right? Jensen got re-signed, Fournette, Godwin, etc. I'm just saying like from what has happened in terms of things not going the Bucs' way. Because I think everybody at the time was like, oh, Brady's back. Things are going our way, right? But Ali Marpet retiring was big. Rob Gronkowski ultimately not coming back was big.
Shocking.
And then I think, too, when Bruce steps down, he does so on March 30th. Todd Bowles... we're already 2 weeks into free agency. Like the big free agents have already been signed and all that. Todd Bowles didn't have a chance to put his stamp on which players he wanted on this football team from a free agent standpoint.
True.
He inherited that. Bruce was still the head coach up until March 30th. And he did have some say in the draft for sure, but he also didn't have a say-so in his coaching staff. This is Bruce Arians' coaching staff. Okay. I'm going to tell you right now, Byron Leftwich, if Todd Bowles is here next year, Byron Leftwich won't be here next year. And this is not something that I think has come up all of a sudden. I don't think that Todd Bowles was on the same page with Byron Leftwich from day one. And this has been something that's kind of brewing. Now, the befuddling thing to me is from what I understand, Todd Bowles has had full carte blanche with this coaching staff. If he wanted to fire Byron, there was nobody standing in his way. I've found that out. So there's no scapegoat here. There's no, I wanted to make a move, but I couldn't. My hands were tied. No. This is his coaching staff. He stuck with Byron Leftwich, and maybe it's a situation where the coaches that he wanted, listen, by March 30th, all the good coaches are already on staffs. So you can't make any changes. So any coach that you're getting is off the street. And not just that, how bad would it look for Todd Bowles to say, oh, I'm firing Byron Leftwich, who the last time we saw Byron Leftwich, his offense was averaging 30 points per game. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so it would be a catastrophically bad look. And then if Byron Leftwich goes elsewhere and, by March 30th and is a quarterback's coach for some team, right, because all the coordinator jobs are taken, then whoever Todd Bowles picks, if he doesn't get lightning in a bottle and that offensive coordinator's clicking, then everybody said, why in the world would you fire somebody who's averaged 30 points per game the last 2 seasons? Yeah. Now, the truth has been revealed about Byron Leftwich. He's been exposed. This has been more of the Jimmies and the Joes than the X's and O's of Byron Leftwich. This was 3 offensive linemen who are Pro Bowlers up front, blocking for a future Hall of Fame quarterback with a future Hall of Fame tight end and a future Hall of Fame wide receiver, Mike Evans, and a Hall of Fame caliber wide receiver who's a jackass, and Antonio Brown, who's about to be arrested, by the way, and a $20 million wide receiver. So that was why this offense was averaging 30 points per game. They were out-talenting people with a good system. Yeah. I'm not saying that Byron doesn't have any credit or get any credit, but when you take that talent and cut it in half, no Ryan Jensen, no Ali Marpet, no AB to be that explosive guy, no Gronkowski, which is that vertical seam guy, that safety blanket for Brady. Now it's on you to prove that you can scheme guys open and outwit people and use some creativity, and it just hadn't happened. And to me, that's the mark of a great offensive coordinator. It's like, I'll always be a John Elway defender, for example. John Elway, I couldn't stand him because I grew up in Kansas City as a huge Chiefs fan. So Broncos and Chiefs,
number one.
Totally. But you want to talk about a good quarterback? Outside of Rod Smith, name me a Broncos wide receiver he threw to, and take away Shannon Sharp too, because he wasn't there the whole time.
What's that?
Good. Ricky Nattiel, you going to go there? Ricky Nattiel.
No, McCaffrey. The big.
Okay, yeah. At the end, Christian McCaffrey's dead. Ed McCaffrey, right? Okay. But here's what I'm saying. It's like he didn't have a whole.
Was great, but I remember.
Yeah, right, exactly. But he didn't have a whole lot of talent. If you're a great quarterback, and even Tom Brady, it's like Troy Brown.
And when did Elway finally win the Super Bowl? When they got a ground game.
Exactly. Yeah, when they had Terrell Davis. Exactly. But I'm just saying, like to me, that's the mark. When you can do a lot with a little, that's the mark of a great quarterback, a great play caller. When you can show that you can rise above mediocre talent around you and still be successful, like that's showing me something. And I think that's what we've seen from Byron Leftwich is without a boatload of talent, 18 points per game, and he still has Tom Brady. Come on.
Yeah. And I can see that because Leonard Fournette, by the way, leads the Bucs in yak.
Yeah.
Leonard Fournette leads the Bucs in yak. So basically, but with that stat in mind right there, and I don't know if you can crack this code. I don't think anybody can. Why am I seeing the Bucs constantly throw short of the sticks on have-to-have-it situations?
To Cameron
Why?
Brate.
Yeah. Why is Cameron Brate running little crossing?
Because he's going to make people miss.
Little crossing route, drag routes underneath, whatever, with a guy draped on him. Why am I seeing this stuff constantly?
I don't know. I mean, that's a question I'm going to ask Byron on Friday.
It just doesn't keep you aerodynamic enough.
That's true. It's slow. There's some drag there. It's slowing him down. But here's a better question, Nick. Why has Cade Otton just disappeared from the offense? Last time I saw Cade Otton, I mean, he had a 25-yard catch over in Germany against Seattle. He had a 28-yard catch and run against the Rams. Oh, by the way, he was the leading receiver against the Rams in that game. And he also caught the game-winning touchdown. Cam Brate doesn't have a catch over 20 yards this year. And Cade Otton has 3. the arrow is pointing up for Cade Otton, who has one more touchdown than Cam Brate. And I love Cam Brate. I'm not knocking Cam Brate. Cam Brate's 31. He's a tight end 2, tight end 3. He's not a starter. So why in the world are you calling for him to be targeted 5 times and catch 2 passes for 19 yards? And you can't even throw Cade Otton a bone once that game? It's coaching malpractice.
Absolutely, 100%. Well, we could do this all day, my friend.
We should do this all day. We have a
should,
lot
right?
more material to go through, JP, and Nick. We do.
But I know you have things to do.
I do, yeah.
Give me a minute on the Saints. I think I can't pick this team to win another game after
No.
what I heard on Monday.
You want to hear a joke? Here's the joke. I went to my bookie, which is one of our sponsors, on Monday, and I just said, okay, so how many points are the Saints going to be favored by? Because I mean, let's face it, they've owned Ray J. The last 4 games, they beat the Bucs in Tampa, 38-3 on Sunday Night Football. In 2020, the year they won the Super Bowl, 9-0 last year in the Bucs. This Bruce Arians offense couldn't score a friggin' point, and it was like a body bag game for the Bucs offensive players.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, how many points are the Saints favored by? None. The Bucs are favored by 4. I threw so much money on the Saints this week. I'm going to cash in when this team loses. Cam Jordan, who has been a Buck killer, he's got 17 career sacks against the Bucs. He's only sacked the Falcons more in his career, 23 sacks against the Falcons, 17 sacks. He had 3 sacks last year against the Buccaneers. Didn't have any in week 2. But man, he is gonna make Monday night a nightmare for Josh Wells, and it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad.
I've said with Tristan Wirfs out, and I'm not speaking this into existence, but unless Brady gets the ball out in 1.4 seconds every play, he's going to get hit, and he's
which is going to be a worthless wide receiver screen to Chris Godwin for 1 yard. That's what it's going to be. So 2nd and 9.
They're going to be offsides by the 2 deep safeties a couple times.
Yes.
So close to the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
It's going to be ugly. But
it's going to be ugly, and I think the only way the Buccaneers can win this game is truly if the Saints just hand it to them.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to say, but Andy Dalton. Well, yeah, but Andy Dalton's going to be the quarterback, not Jameis Winston. So they're not going to hand the Buccaneers this like Jameis would. But it really has to be a game where the Saints are literally going to implode. For the Buccaneers to win. In other words, they've got to show up and say, we're going to suck today.
The Bucs have to win on defense. Yeah.
And the Bucs have to win on defense. That's the only way that this is going to happen. And I mean, you might have to see some freaky things. You might have to see a Jalen Darden punt return for a touchdown. You might have to see a pick 6 from anybody other than Mike Edwards on this team.
Is everybody going to fall down on the Saints team and Jalen Darden? I mean,
yes, that's the plan. It's like the invisible grenade that goes off and all the players fall down, and then Jalen Darden runs. What he's going to do is Jalen Darden's going to start in the middle of the field and then find the nearest sideline. Is it left or right? Where am I? I'm closer to left hash. It's going to be the left hash. And then what's going to happen is they're actually going to get some blocks along the sidelines. Jalen Darden's going to say, oh my gosh, wait a minute. I don't step out of bounds after 9 yards. I can actually continue running. And he's going to find a seam right down that sideline and score a touchdown. I'm just kidding. It's not going to happen, but it'd be fun if it did.
I know. Then that's about as likely as the Bucs winning the game. I get it. All right, my friend, tell everybody how they can get your content and what's going on at Pewter Report this week.
PewterReport.com is the place to go for Bucs news and scoop. We'll have our predictions and previews for the Bucs Saints game, even though it's going to be on Monday. We'll have that tomorrow on PewterReport.com, so check that out. We've got some great content. My SRS Fab 5 is coming out tomorrow. And we also have got some social media for you guys. If you want to follow us, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and social media, you can follow us at Pewter Report. And then also on YouTube, we have Pewter Report TV. It's where we do our live podcasts Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 4 o'clock Eastern Time. And if you miss it live, you can always catch the video podcast version of it there at Pewter Report TV. Want you to subscribe to it. We also have got a pregame, an in-game, and then a post-game show on typically Sundays, but it will be on Monday this week. So make sure you're checking us out on YouTube at Pewter Report TV.
All right, partner. I'll see you Monday night.
Sounds good.
At the Ray J. Thanks.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Always fun. The great Scott Reynolds right there. And, it's just, you have so much hope as you go into the season. And then, everything's, it's the ultimate reality show. It's the ultimate reality show. And, we say a lot of negative things about coaches and stuff like that, but personally love a lot of these guys. It's just we're criticizing their play and their coaching, and that's what we do. It's part of the game. That's why they get paid so much money. They can handle it as we got to handle it, but we don't get as much money to handle it as they do. That's the bad part. All right, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have our second hour. We're gonna talk about the USF coaching situation. We will give you an update on that as far as where that's at with Deion and Jamey Chadwell, and are there other names? So we'll catch you up with that. We'll talk some Bolts. Antonio Brown looks like he's going to get arrested. So lots more coming your way. Stay with us. Was your car totaled in an accident? Did your insurance company use Kelley Blue Book or NADA to appraise the value of your car? Chances are they didn't, and you got shorted maybe thousands of dollars. Call the Jeeves Law Group for a free case evaluation because your insurance company may still owe you money. 727-894-2929. It's a free call, so why not find out if you have a case? Insurance companies have been running this scam for a while, and most folks don't know if they've been shorted. Trust me. Scott Jeeves is a different kind of attorney, the kind insurance companies hate to go up against. He could recover thousands of dollars, so why not call? 727-894-2929 or go to JeevesLawGroup.com. That's JEEVES lawgroup.com and tell them JP sent you.
JP here for Emerging Investigations, Tampa Bay's premier investigation agency. Do you suspect your spouse is cheating or involved in a divorce, that your spouse is hiding money, an ex-employee or current employee with suspicious behavior? Is there a criminal matter you need help with? If you need information you can count on, using the professionals at Emerging Investigations is a slam dunk. Emerging Investigations is a licensed and insured private investigation agency, family-owned. Emerging is your ideal resource to secure evidence and validation, allowing you to make informed decisions in life's biggest matters. Led by industry executive Brian D'Antonio, Emerging possesses the experience and resources to get needed results. Emerging Investigations maintains an excellent reputation as a premier investigation agency. They are known for results. You're not just hiring a PI, but an organized, dedicated team using state-of-the-art technology. Their proven investigative methods produce crucial information used in criminal cases, insurance fraud, and personal injury claims. Many local attorneys, industry agencies, and your concerned neighbors all count on Emerging Investigations. Just go to their website, emerginginv.com, or call 813-291-FACT. That's 813-291-FACT-3228. Get results you can trust in life's biggest matters. Emerging Investigations. It's that time of the year to renew or shop your health insurance provider, and you can get great health insurance for $20, $30, $50 a month. Just call 844-310-9961 to help navigate the health insurance marketplace. 1 out of 3 people in Florida are uncovered because they think they can't afford it. It's not true. I made the call a couple of years ago, and they helped me get Blue Cross Blue Shield coverage, Florida Blue, for just $20 a month. Last year, it went up to $49. Are you kidding me? It all depends on your income and family situation. It's a free call, 844-310-9961. They will ask for some income information, and the highly trained reps will do the work to find out what your subsidy will be. 844-310-9961. And if you have a plan through your employer, you may be able to get it cheaper here. It's a free call, folks, and this has been a lifesaver for me and saved me thousands of dollars over the last few years. And you could choose your plan. That's 844-310-9961. Get covered like me and thousands of others and save thousands. 844-310-9961.
Hey guys, Serena Fazan here for the Gold and Diamond Source. Are you looking for the hottest trends in men's jewelry? Ladies love to see men spice it up with something cool from the Gold and Diamond Source. Whether you're looking for a gold chain, fashion rings, even a pre-owned Rolex watch, or thinking about getting engaged, there's only one place to go. Go see my friends, Julie and Steve Weintraub at the Gold and Diamond Source for your one-stop jewelry supercenter. It's never been more important to shop local and support the businesses that support our amazing Tampa Bay community. None better than the great folks at the Gold and Diamond Source, 3800 Ulmerton Road, or online at goldendiamond.com.
Let's go right now. Back to the show with JP on FanStream Sports.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show. Our second hour brought to you by Bay Area Modern Medical Center, BAMMC.com. If you're interested in any testosterone placement therapy, just something I've been doing for 6-7 years now, total game changer, guys. And there's so many of us. The studies show that all of us have depleted testosterone unnaturally. I mean, there's mostly even younger guys now are down 20, 30, or 40% where they should be. Older guys, 60, 70, 80% where they should be naturally. But you're not anymore because of the food that's in our food system, the environmental damage, the stress, drugs, all these things that deplete your testosterone. So you can get it replaced. It's not hard to do. It's a very easy process, but you need to do it under great supervision. And that's what Chris Lugo and his medical team do at Bay Area Modern Medical Center. So guys, if you've been thinking about it, think about it no more. Just go to BAMMC.com and give them a call. They'll set up if you need an after hours appointment, they'll do that for you as well. And you're going to get time with the doctor. That's the thing that really is important. You're not going to just get rushed through and just treated like the other 10,000 people that come to the clinic. It's all personalized, and they look at your blood work on every quarter and make sure everything is going well. A lot of places don't do that. So it's BAMMC.com, Bay Area Modern Medical Center. All right. Do you have the update on the Antonio Brown news? Is this, Scott Smith from Channel 13 reported it earlier today that Antonio Brown was about to get arrested for domestic violence, which is no shock. There's been a lot of things going on with AB lately that he probably should be arrested for.
I didn't even know that he still lived in Tampa.
Yeah, he still lives on Davis Islands, not far from Brady, but as a matter of fact.
Well,
so I'm wondering who the domestic violence was on.
Oh, well, I think I speak for the entire city here that we don't want you here.
Yeah, please go back to Miami.
I have no problem saying that.
Please go back to Miami or wherever.
I haven't seen, there hasn't really been like a follow-up update on any of this. It's just like the original, what Scott Smith of Fox 13 said, a source confirmed that Antonio Brown is about to be arrested in Tampa for domestic violence by TPD. I have not seen any details on that yet.
Okay.
So it looks like we're still waiting there. But am I surprised? No.
No, I am not surprised either.
Continues to be an ass clown.
All right. I'm going to get to some of our listeners who are commenting on our YouTube page, on our Facebook page, at FanStreamJP, at the JP Peterson Show. You can comment anywhere there. We'll try to put it up for you. This is from our friend James. It said there's no way the Bucs beat the Saints, no way they beat the 49ers, and no way they beat the Bengals. So we're looking at 5-9. So guess what? It's freaking over. Hard to refute that, my friend, unless they make some major, major changes. At this point, Bowles may have lost his team after Devin White and Lavonte David taking the D out for dinner. I don't disagree with that. When players are taking matters into, I mean, we talk about this from a media standpoint. How do you think the players feel when these decisions are made? How do you think the offense feels to not go for it on 4th and 2 at the 37? What are you telling your offensive players at that point? I don't trust you. You're not that good. What do you tell them when the head coach just decides we're going to overtime? Where, by the way, you can lose a coin flip, which is another ridiculous decision. When you have Tom Brady, even in 30, when you should have had a minute left, and Tom Brady, and all you need is a field goal. And this is something I've been telling you for a while, and it's happened through this whole season. It's a reason I don't see that's a reason. One of the big reasons your game day effort is embarrassing, because they have no confidence in their coaching staff. And that's not an excuse. It's not an excuse, but I'm just telling you, when you're a good football player and coaches are making decisions like this, it sucks the life out of you. When the coaches don't believe in you, it sucks the life out of you. And you don't play hard because it's like, what's the point? These guys don't get it. They don't understand. They're not coaching us up. We're doing stupid stuff. Why should I be bashing my head through a wall? T. Corral says, does Bowles get fired at the end of the season? If so, how about Sean Payton? Oh,
not a shot.
Sign me up. Why do you say not a shot?
There's no way Sean Payton is coming.
Well, if McCarthy's having a great year with the Cowboys, so there may not be. You can't fire McCarthy if he takes you to the conference championship game, or God forbid wins a Super Bowl. So that job's not coming open. I think he thought that's where he was going. The Miami Dolphins want him. That would be a place. But how do you fire Mike McDaniel now? As good as they're playing. You can't.
Sean Payton is never coming to the ball. Now,
why would you say that?
I wouldn't pull on.
Why would you say that?
I will say I won't put it past the Glazers to try, because the Glazers have always
not because
tried.
of a rivalry. That's not a thing.
Are you sure?
Absolutely.
I don't know about that.
Oh, come on. It's professional football,
His
bro.
legacy in New Orleans would be completely just.
Oh, stop.
No, I don't see that happening. The Glazers will try. They've always swung for big fish, but
Stop.
I can't see that. Somebody in
Nothing
here,
to do with it.
somebody here asked.
You know who are our rivals because they're geographic? The Saints and the Cowboys. They're rivals too. Saints fans hate Cowboy fans.
Everybody hates Cowboy fans. Well, somebody.
No, that's not a thing.
I'm looking for the comment here. I think it was from Mario Christian. He was asking, "Is Todd Bowles worse than Dungy?" And I said, I think the Bucs, if they had a chance, would in a heartbeat would take Tony Dungy back right now. Yeah, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
The answer to that question is no.
Resounding
no.
Look at their records. Just look at their records. Come on now. And stop talking about winning the NFC South. You have to win a game for that to happen. I agree. JP, let me just further discuss this, and I don't want to take too much time. But when he took 11 days off, I was all in. Absolutely. And I've even said that, and now I've reversed course on that on myself. I was all in because I assumed that this team would be coached competently. And I didn't realize how incompetent this coaching staff is and how bad this new philosophy of being a defensive football team and not trusting the offense was going to drag this team down. So, and I also didn't know that this coaching staff was not going to put a premium on practicing hard and practicing a lot and accountability. I assumed that all that would remain the same, and it has not. So I know I'm hedging right now, but I just assumed that all of it was going to be the same. And as we look back, we see it's not. So is that fair?
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Just saying, James is on your case right now.
But he's exactly right for calling me out. But I think
he says right here, JP,
circumstances change, right? Yeah. So you have to adjust what you're.
Yeah.
I made a call at the time, and I was assuming all these other things, and I was wrong about that as well. It's a much different coaching staff. So
yeah. He does agree with me, though. There's no way the Bucs will ever have Sean Payton. Don't the Saints have to trade Sean Payton to the Bucs?
Not at this point. Well, now that he sat out a year, his contract is expired.
Okay.
So that now I believe he now becomes a free agent. And by the way, he is a hell of an analyst. I
love
enjoy
him
watching
as an
him on Fox. He says stuff. He's very candid. He doesn't bull crap around. He will say stuff that he's really, really
I know you're
good.
not the biggest Colin fan in the world, but his segment with Colin every Monday is fantastic. It's like 20 minutes, and it's just great.
Well, it's because it's Sean Payton, not because it's Colin.
No, it's great banter between the two.
All right. Well, I haven't seen. I don't watch Colin anymore because he pissed me off. I don't do it anymore. What else did he say? What else did he say about me?
No, I think
yeah, you agree with me. They don't effing practice. This is the other one. This is the other thing. Yeah, put this up. What I'm trying to do. They don't effing practice. They are there, but they don't practice at full speed. Who told you that, James? Me. So, Thomas Casper says Bowles has $25 million contract. No way Arians takes over in the last 45 days of the season, and no deal and no desire to return. Look, I'm just saying in a hypothetical world, if I were the owner, I would not stand by and when I'm still mathematically alive and leading the division. I wouldn't have waited this long, to be quite honest with you. I would have changed things before this. Once I realized where this was headed, no, absolutely 100% not. William Butler says the season is a wash and it sucks in the passing offensive era. We have a defensive conservative minded coach. Yeah. I mean, I never thought that I would see Todd Bowles make the decisions that he made.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know. I didn't know he was this defensive minded. Remember I said this though. I said, what's going to be the biggest difference between Todd Bowles and Bruce Arians? And I said, you know what? Having a better running game will help Tom Brady. No question about that. The problem is they haven't implemented the running game like they should. It's not creative enough. It's too predictable. And they, as a coaching staff, they can't pick out their tells and their tendencies because they're telling the defense what they're doing. And I don't, if you give me 40 hours a week to get in the film room, I'll be able to tell you exactly what their tells are and why it's not my job. It's the coaching staff's job, but clearly that's what's going on.
Hey, by the way, just real quick on Sean Payton in the sense of getting it right. He's under contract for 3 more years.
Oh, for 3 more years.
3 more years. So
you will have
will have to trade him. And if I know 20 years,
that's not
it's 20 years later, but if John Gruden's netting what?
2 ones, 2 twos, and $8 million.
Yeah, I have to assume it's probably in that ballpark. So
that's what they were talking about to go to the Dolphins.
Yeah, so that's a no. That's
Yeah,
a
you
no
can't
for
do
me.
that. No, and a rebuild? No.
No.
He's a great coach, but you need players. You got to get players. Yeah, I thought it was up for some reason, and in the trade situation, it's never happening.
William Butler said, if Wells is so bad, why wouldn't they try to bring a free agent in? Well, here's the thing: offensive linemen are they don't grow on trees. Anybody that's out there is out there for a reason.
Right.
Depth offensive linemen. I mean, it's so hard to get just one good tackle on your team. Let alone, I mean, Donovan Smith has been great this year, but last year he was great. So it's just. You kind of just have to deal with it at this point with Josh Wells. And he's not a bad reserve tackle by any means, but he ain't Tristan Wirfs. I know that to be a fact.
Yeah, and James also asking about, he says, all this crazy talk, but I still want Brady back next year with the new staff.
I agree.
I mean,
I agree.
As opposed to, starting the rebuild. Yeah, I would keep Brady
if Tom Brady wants to keep playing and he wants to keep playing in Tampa Bay just with a new I'm not getting in the way of that. If Tom Brady wants to stay here, I'm not going to be a guy to tell him, no, Tom, we don't want you.
I mean, what are your options? Rebuild. What are your options? Drafting a quarterback? No,
that's never gone well.
No, thank you. I'm not interested in that. Who else is out there as a free agent? I've heard people say things aren't working out with Russell Wilson. I think, I got to tell you, I think Russell Wilson, and I've been a huge Russell Wilson fan.
I ain't taking on that contract. Tell you that.
You can't win with the contract first and foremost. You can't win. He's an aging athletic quarterback. That doesn't work. Brady is as an aging non-athletic quarterback. He beats you with his mind and his preparation, and he's still having a great arm, which he still has a great arm. Russell is in the decline. It's a terrible. And also, I got to say this: in the last 2 to 3 years, that dude has changed. He's gone from a humble guy that you can really support and really teammates love to just like what's going on?
Half the team showing up to the birthday party.
Yeah.
You see draft day, right? Yeah. It's all coming to real life right now. His teammates aren't coming to the birthday party.
Yeah, that's
it's crumbling there. You know who is a free agent, by the way? And this would be so poetic.
Who's that?
Jamey Garoppolo is a free agent, and he's on a team that doesn't want him, even though all he does is win. All he does is win. He's got identical winning percentage nearly to Joe Montana and Steve Young in a 49ers uniform. How about that, all you haters? All you Jimmy Garoppolo haters.
Imagine how good the Niners would be if they didn't give up all that stuff.
No kidding.
Jiminy Christmas. Yeah, I still say John Lynch wasn't on board with that.
Yeah, probably not.
I still say Shanahan forced that whole deal.
Yeah,
no,
James,
you know John Lynch would have drafted 3 more badass defensive players.
Oh, and that draft was loaded. We went through the players. There's like all Pro Bowlers behind them.
He would have drafted. But yeah,
I do agree with you here, James. By the way, going back to 1 o'clock games and in one primetime game a year, the Brady signing made my decade. Me too.
Yeah,
me too. I don't.
Absolutely.
Regardless of how this ends, we got the Super Bowl out of it.
Oh hell yeah!
So this is everything else is cherries on top at this point.
We knew the goodbye and the downside was this was going to get ugly. I just didn't think it would happen this way.
Yeah.
It just to fall so fast, and it's not. And if it were Brady's physical abilities breaking down, I could handle it. But that's not what it is. It was his. He was mentally distracted. There's no question about that. There's no question. What do you do about that? And that's life. It is life, and it is what it is. And now now you're working with a coaching staff that just clearly does not get it. And the other thing you have to remember about Brady is, and part of this is the offensive line, is he came here. It was a perfect storm. He had a great offensive, especially in the interior. Which you have to have. And that I go back to Ryan Jensen going down. You had to go out and get somebody to stabilize the middle, and they just didn't do it. They went with Hainsey and Gedeke and Mason, and it just.
And not that those guys are playing bad necessarily. Gedeke, but not that
Hainsey wasn't great in the beginning.
Yeah, but not that they're playing bad now. They just don't have that nastiness. You're missing Ryan Jensen, the nastiness and the intimidator and all those type of things.
And this just in, Donovan Smith is back to being ranked 76th of 85 tackles.
I went back and
Donovan Smith's been terrible.
I went back and watched some of that Cleveland game again.
Awful.
Oh my! I understand it's Myles Garrett, but that was awful. I don't even know. I don't have the word for it.
So it's like you don't have all the other guys are new, and the guy that's still there who used to be good ain't so good anymore.
And I told you that coming in, if I had doubts about one thing, I said Donovan Smith had a career year last year, and before that he had been a serviceable at best left tackle. How's he going to respond now? What is this, year 8?
2 years under Brady, he was so much better.
Yeah, but this is year 8 too. He's not young anymore, and all the things that kind of plagued him.
How much was
the Jameis years are back?
Ali Marpet helping him?
Yeah, he looks to his right and he's like, "Where's my guy?" Those guys were like, this when they got here.
Yeah, so there's just been a lot of stuff and if you don't have that for Tom Brady, why have Tom Brady? He's not. He's going to kill. He's a statue back there.
Because he can't move.
He can't move. He can't move. I heard it. Well, you remember the sideline audio? It was a Ravens game. It was a Ravens game. The sideline audio of the Ravens game, and the defensive players were like, "We know exactly what's coming. They haven't changed anything. He's just sitting back there. Let's go get him." I'm like, oh my God, we do not want to hear that from the defensive players.
Yeah,
and it's true though.
Yeah,
I mean, imagine having to block for a guy where everybody knows he's where he's going to be.
Yeah.
And he ain't moving. He can't get out of the way. I mean, if I'm a defensive player, I'm like licking my chops, like every New Orleans Saints defensive player is right now. I mean, it's like Cam Jordan. I can't believe it hasn't happened yet. They're so bad. I guess he can't spout off. But he can't. There's no way he can keep himself quiet this week.
I have to imagine it. You'll be seeing some quotes soon here. You'll be seeing some soon.
The guy who tweeted out when Donovan Smith got re-signed was like, what did he tweet out? Like, it's the best day of my life.
Like feasting season or something like that.
I'm sorry, Donovan. We're not laughing at you. It's just like you're it's just been a tough year. And I know you're hurt with the elbow and everything. It's hard to But
hey, I will say this about the quarterback acquisition of Brady being stagnant, and regardless of what happens when Brady's done, whether it's this year, next year, whatever, the next quarterback for the Bucs needs to be mobile because the Bucs have just never really had that one of those guys.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like now I know you can't do this, and I know they're not going to do it, and it sounds silly, but with this offensive line, your chances of winning with Tom Brady, as immobile as he is with this offensive line, I literally would have if I could get a mobile, if Blaine Gabbert could be in there, anybody who's going to play behind this offensive line is going to have to run for his life. And Brady's going to have to get rid of the ball before 2 seconds in order for him to be successful. And you can't be successful having to get rid of the ball.
I think it's been better though for the most part. They let him down against Cleveland. Don't get me wrong.
Nick Leverett is hurt. Nick Leverett hurt, and Tristan Wirfs is hurt.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes now. So I keep forgetting about Tristan Wirfs. Yeah,
Tristan's down, and Nick, and we know what Luke Gedeke is, dude. Brady, he may just pull a hammy early in the game because playing behind that offensive line.
What I was going to say though is if this is it for Tom Brady,
put Blaine Gabbert in just for Brady's safety, just for his safety.
Well, they're in first place. You're not doing it.
I know, but it might not be a bad
idea. Here's what I was
going
to.
I'm scared for you. I literally am scared for Brady.
I'm sure you are.
I am.
What I was going to say, though, not to get too ahead of everything because there's still season to go, but if this is it for Brady and you're going into the draft and you're going to a rebuild, I'm assuming the Bucs make the playoffs and lose one playoff game, so you'd have the 20th pick, 21st round there.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it because, I mean, he tore his ACL, so I'm assuming he's going to slide a little bit in the draft. I would take Hendon Hooker. If you want to get somebody that's mobile, that looks like he's ready to play, has 2 really good college seasons under his career in the SEC at Tennessee. I mean, I would be all over that train once we get there.
If we could get him.
Because I'm assuming he's going to slide a little bit because of the torn ACL. That's what I'm assuming.
If he's there when the Bucs draft.
And even if Brady comes back next year, I probably would still do it. Because I'm not one of these people that's a Kyle Trask truther. There's nothing there for me. It's just a very limited I'm not going with an athlete a guy who's very limited from an athletic standpoint and also has a noodle for an arm. I'm not doing it. So I'm already out on Kyle Trask.
I'm out on Kyle Trask too. He's not the guy. And you got to use the modern NFL game is a guy that can move.
Yeah.
You got to have the RPOs with an actual threat of running. You got to have the zone reads.
You need a nice young blossoming offensive head coach, by the way.
Yeah.
I.e. Mike McDaniel.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. This rebuild is going to be very, very difficult, and it's going to hurt.
$47 million in dead cap.
It's going to hurt so bad. Let's see how this. We still need more information before we say let's get rid of Brady.
I'm digging the Bucs
going back
right
to
now.
New England anyway, so
yeah,
and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
Jeremy Lowe says Ken Dorsey. Him and Brady can
As our quarterback?
Him and Brady can throw iPads together. I don't know. He's the OC for Josh Allen in Buffalo, so take that for what it's worth.
We did tease the coaching search, so I think he's going to get mad at me if we go to break and then do the coaching search. Wow, we got to pay the bills. So a quick break. We're going to come back with the latest on the USF coaching search. Sorry, we went longer there with Buck stuff than I wanted to. We didn't even play the freaking Brady audio where he took the whatever. was too much fun. All right, we'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We're brought to you by the Jeeves Law Group, JEEVES lawgroup.com. If you're involved in a class action lawsuit, you might want to get them involved as well. Consumer protection, if you've been injured at a place of business or the place of business have done you wrong, the Jeeves Law Group will represent you and kick some ass. So go to JEEVES lawgroup.com. If you feel you've been wronged, it's a free call. They'll tell you if you have a case and let them take it from there. Back in 3. Stay with us.
JP here for Italiano Insurance. If you've started a side hustle during COVID and the business has grown, well, you need business insurance, because if you get sued, you could lose all your personal wealth if you're not properly protected. That's right. Your home, your savings, everything could go. So get protected now. Call the great agents at Italiano Insurance, 813-877-7799, and a real human will answer the phone and get you protected. If you haven't shopped your business insurance in a while, you could be overpaying by thousands. One customer had their golf buddy handling his business insurance, then called Italiano to shop it around, and they saved him $26,000 a year. Yeah. So call 813-877-7799 or go to ItalianoInsurance.com. Italiano Insurance, protecting all the pieces of your life for over 60 years. Attention, if you are home shopping or looking for a refinance, and even if you already have the approval letter, you must call my man Scott Fitzgerald at American Mortgage Services. Scott has a brand new program available in the greater Tampa Bay area called the Community Advantage Loan Program. Get this, no money down, no mortgage insurance, no points, no origination fee, purchase or refinance, and loan amounts up to $647,000. Now, there are some application requirements. It must be a single-family home, 1 unit, primary residence, and have a minimum 640 credit score. The program only applies to certain neighborhoods, so you have to call to find out if you qualify. So call Scott Fitzgerald at 813-294-7595 or email him at scott@amstampa.com. Now, even if you don't qualify for that program, Scott will shop your loan around, get you the best rates, and won't charge you the huge upfront fees. And if you've had issues with your bank calling you back, Scott will return calls immediately, or at least the same day. 813-294-7595 or email him, scott@amstampa.com. Scott Fitzgerald, MLS 386722, American Mortgage Services, 1000 North Ashley Drive, Suite 1020, Tampa, Florida.
Guys, let me tell you about Bay Area Modern Medical Center. Are you experiencing low sex drive, fatigue, hot flashes, moodiness, and you just don't feel like you have the vitality you once had? You're not just getting old, it's likely low testosterone. Studies over the last 20 years show a shocking decline in younger males aged 16 to 39. Older men have seen a sharp decline as well. Do something about it. Go see my friend Christopher Lugo at Bay Area Modern Medicine. Testosterone replacement is not a frivolous treatment. It takes a professional, targeted approach that focuses on total body wellness, vitality, and emotional stability. Not a one-size-fits-all approach like many clinics use. They will monitor your blood work and adjust your treatment as needed for optimal results. Call 844-977-3477 or go to BAMMC.com. Tell them JP sent you for priority scheduling.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Let's rock. This is FanStream Sports with JP.
All right, welcome back to the JP Peterson Show, brought to you by the great folks at Italiano Insurance. Great time to shop your insurance around at the end of the year, right? Before you get that homeowner's bill. There are a lot of companies that come into the marketplace, so you may want to check and see if you can get a lower rate, especially if you've been with a company for a while. They like to just tick up the rate year after year after year after year, you know, and you're just like, I'll just stay with them. It's only $50. So let them shop it around, because you can get better insurance, and they'll also be able to tell you if you have enough insurance for your home. 64% of people in Florida do not have enough insurance. You're underinsured. So that means you're likely underinsured. You need to know that before your house gets wiped away and you don't have enough money to replace it, right? So that's why you make the call. It's a free call, 813-877-7799. They'll do all the work and let you know what's going on, and maybe even save you some money. Have them shop your auto, your business insurance is something else that they do that can save you a lot of money with. So great folks at Italiano Insurance. You can reach them at 813-877-7799. All right, so not a whole lot new to tell you on the USF coaching front, except to say that a lot of the stuff that's being reported, we've already reported that Deion has told his recruits that he is going to be at another school on Sunday. There have been reports that he told them that he's going to a Power 5 school. So obviously that would rule out USF, although he could be looking at USF as moving into a Power 5 because he's going there at some point. So who knows? This is I don't know who this is, but Cincinnati maybe. There's been some chatter about this out there, and I'm not reporting this. Okay, I'm not reporting this, but there's chatter out there, and I've seen some reports, and I can't give you the attribution just now, but it says that Deion Sanders has been removed from the head coaching search at Cincinnati. Interesting. Very, very interesting, because as Kevin O'Donnell has reported, and I have reported, USF has, they believe that they have their man, and they're going to introduce him on Sunday or Monday. The USF players have been told that they will meet their new coach on Sunday or Monday. That it's getting done. So the timeline is jiving with, Deion has a game on Saturday night in Jackson against Southern in the SWAC championship, which they beat Southern 35-0 earlier this year. So, I don't think Deion is necessarily grinding on this game, so to speak. So, Bart, are you seeing anything else?
No, it's kind of been, I think it's been more quiet. There's a lot of just, speculation and rumors out there. But I think, for my 2 cents on this, not knowing anything, I think it's probably going to be Jamey Chadwell.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what's kind of holding that up, and I've seen this listed, is because Liberty has become open now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Jamey Chadwell is very religious. And so Liberty's a very religious school. So it seems like a natural fit. So that might be something. But here's my thing.
And Liberty will pay him a hell of a lot more money. I'm not saying more than USF, but more than he's making now. So, what is their conference situation right now?
I think they're independent.
I think they're independent, but I think that they're trying to move to make a move because they're very well funded. They've had a lot of success. They've been in the top 25. So they're not a joke of a program anymore. Yeah. They're a legitimate program.
They've had 17 winning years in a row.
Yeah.
Liberty.
So check and see what their conference affiliation is or where they're going. I don't know, but for Jamey Chadwell, it's definitely a step up, and he's just a different kind of cat. He's a different kind of cat. He's a very religious dude, and that's something I think that would really, really appeal to him, to make a lot of money and go someplace where I'm not exactly sure what their schedule is and who they play on a yearly basis, but they played some pretty.
They beat Arkansas, I believe, this year, right?
I don't want to say definitively, but it's interesting. So and as I've said, and I'll repeat this, a lot folks close to Deion Sanders have told me that they've talked to USF extensively. They've agreed on the main parameters as to what, in terms of money and money for the staff. But the deal was not done. As I reported, the deal was not done. I reported 90% of the big things were agreed to, but the deal was not done. I know a lot of people took that as being the deal done, but if the deal was done, I would have said it. I told you that the deal was not done, at least as far as I know. And I've had multiple people say that it's not going to happen. And I've had way more people say that Deion is still very much in the mix at USF. And I still, a lot of people are saying Colorado is the spot. I don't buy it. And Deion actually did an interview yesterday. I think it was yesterday with one of the HBCU reporters. And basically they were laughing about Colorado. The guy was like saying, hey, I'm going to the Chiefs Broncos game in Denver. Will you can I get a ride with you? And Deion was like cracking up. He goes, why do you think I'm going to Colorado? He was cracking up about it. I mean, what that means, I don't know. I don't think he's a good fit at Colorado. I don't mean to be dismissive of the people of Colorado. They get mad. It's just, it's not Deion's wheelhouse. Okay. If he went there, I think he would have success, but I just don't think it's his wheelhouse. And I don't think Shador, and this is another thing that you have to know, and this comes right from Deion himself. He is his main priority is obviously the team, but very close to that is his son Shador. And he wants his son to have a great experience in his final 2 years. If he goes to Colorado, he's going to be playing in the Pac-12. That's a big step up from Jackson State. It's a huge step up. Look at I don't even look at Colorado's schedule next year, but it's Pac-12.
No.
It's not what USF's schedule is going to be. And, USF, we love Byron Brown, but he's not an entrenched starting quarterback. And he's just a freshman. Shador would come in here and have 2 years against a really soft schedule, and I think he would thrive. And I don't think, I'm not saying he's afraid to go to the big lights right now, but even going to the Big 12, Cincinnati, it's going to be a hell of a lot tougher than what he's going to face at USF. So this kid would pile up tons of great tape, big yards, big touchdown number, everything with the USF. They'd have great success. And then in 2 years, when he's done, Deion could leave and go and have his pick of jobs. To me, if I were Deion, that's the scenario I would go for, because he can go to the recruits and say, look at the facilities. We just got a new indoor facility. We're playing in Raymond James Stadium. We're playing Alabama. I know the rest of the schedule ain't great, but it's me. It's prime. We're going to be on TV.
Yeah, well,
we're going to be 10-0, 11-0. People are going to be talking about us. We're going to be in the top 25. Come. That's a good sales pitch.
Yeah, it's a good sales pitch, but I still can't see it happening, honestly. And we'll know, obviously, on Sunday once we get to this conference championship weekend, because like I've said, I think this is the most ridiculous part. One of the most ridiculous parts of college football is that we're hiring coaches during conference championship weekends. And then those teams like Liberty, Hugh Freeze was dealing with it. Liberty got beat by they were a 2-touchdown favorite against New Mexico State, and they lost 49-14. And he said, yeah, our team found out the league came out before the game, and they just, they weren't there then. Like, it's just that stuff sucks. So it's hard for these coaches. So if anybody's expecting these things to happen this week, that ain't going to happen. It's going to happen after. I see a situation where maybe Deion just stays. I don't.
No, he ain't staying. He's already said that he's picking one.
We'll see. But
he said that he's going to be somewhere else on Sunday.
To the point about
the deal is done.
Just a couple of points I caught up on. Liberty, by the way, is moving into Conference USA next season.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
A lot of schools going in and out of that conference. Jamey Chadwell, I thought this was interesting because a lot of people are saying, well, what are his ties to Florida and if that's going to work? And interestingly enough, at Coastal Carolina, 18 players from the state of Florida on his roster. 18, and they're all kind of scattered everywhere. North Florida, Central Florida, South Florida. So clearly he has used this state as a hotbed for a lot of his players. And of course he's getting guys that are probably like 2 stars and even lesser than that. When you come to USF, you figure you're going to get, some 3 stars. Maybe you can get in the mix with the 4 stars if you play your hands right. So I do kind of like that. So a lot of people had concerns about what are his ties to Florida, because we obviously know Deion's ties, but it seems like they're strong. So I think that's my thing. I think Jamey Chadwell, my gut's telling me he's going to be the guy based on everything. And if you're a USF fan, I think you should be over the moon over that. I don't want, just because, USF's going after big names and maybe they're not going to land one, that shouldn't change the way you feel about the head coach, whoever it is. I don't think it should, because I think Jamey Chadwell is an excellent candidate.
I wonder how this plays into it. And I don't necessarily say that USF is any different than any other campus or administration around, but at Coastal Carolina, he can do whatever the hell he wants. He's laid down the law as far as his religious beliefs and what he's going to do and talk about publicly. He goes to Liberty. You have an administration that is all about it. They're all in. Whatever you want to do, say. We will support you in your religious fervor. And, if you're a person like Jamey Chadwell, you are compelled to spread your religion. That is what you are called to do in the Christian religion. And coming to a public university like USF, where we know exactly what's going on public universities all over America, let's just say religion is not embraced at all. Well, in fact, it's spat upon. To be quite honest,
but there's a lot of head coaches who are very religious at a lot of big conferences, and I don't think that stuff really matters as much, like in the football sense. I don't. I don't.
If you're the head coach and it's not something that's really embraced by a public university, and in a campus,
I don't see that though. I don't see that. I don't think that like spreads throughout the university itself. That stuff to me is like football team exclusively. At least in my experience of being on a college campus and seeing it.
If I were the head coach, that would, and I was that religious of a person, which he is, that would be something I would have a discussion with Michael Kelly, Rhea Law, and say, where do you guys stand with this? Like, what am I going to be allowed to say? What am I going to be? You guys going to get pissed off?
But Jeff Scott was very religious.
He is
very religious.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think that stuff really plays into it. I don't myself. Because I mean, Jeff Scott's a good example. He is very religious, and I don't think it ever really came up.
No, I don't.
I just and usually and typically
typically
in college football, that's usually like, I don't want to say it's part of every culture, but it's a part of a lot of cultures in college football.
Absolutely.
Everybody circles up and prays, or guys come out of the tunnel and go to the end zone and do their thing. So I think that's more just part of the fabric.
Okay.
Myself.
And by the way, Deion is very religious as well, extremely religious. Yeah. So it's a part of a lot of coaching staff.
Let's just hold on. We're getting closer. I think we're 3 days away from getting an announcement, and
we will know. I don't know what to say about the John Kitna story, or Jalen Kitna at the University of Florida, arrested on child porn charges. I know it's a big thing on Twitter. It just, obviously is not a good thing. Not a good thing at all. It's not a good look on the Gator program right now. It's having some issues. But it is what it is. You Rays fan, I'm ticking off some stories here. You Rays fans talking about Jacob deGrom and Aaron Judge. Like, come on. This is what are we doing here? What are we doing? Seriously? These guys are going to be commanding $35-45 million. That would basically double the payroll.
Well, there's a lot of people saying,
the most? I was trying to think the other day. What's the most the Rays have ever paid a player?
Tyler Glasnow.
He hadn't made it yet. They haven't
paid him yet, but that's
I'm
what's
talking
said.
about actual paid him during a season. I think
was it Kiermaier last year?
No, he was at 13. I think
that's it.
Morton was at 15.
Yeah.
Morton was 15.
at 15. I think that's it.
I'm trying to think if there was anybody.
I don't think Longo was over that.
And nobody back in the hit show. I don't know. Back in the day, not that that even matters.
No.
Longo they never got to the point where they were paying him more than I think 11 or 12 million. So I think the most they've ever paid a player in a season is $15 million.
Charlie Morton.
So we're going to jump to 45.
Well, a lot of people were saying that there was, if you recall, when Bryce Harper was a free agent, there was that rumor / report, whatever, that they offered him a 1-year deal worth $50 million. And
can we stop with that?
There's the Freddie Freeman stuff. If they were willing to give Freddie Freeman this, then
Jason Romano's his agent, a part of his agency, and he's told us on his show that was never going to happen. And the Rays knew damn well he wasn't coming here. So they could put out all they wanted.
The Yankees, it was reported by Jeff Passan, who's the most reliable source in baseball. It was reported by him yesterday or the day before. The Yankees have offered Aaron Judge 8 years, $300 million, which would make him the highest paid position player on a yearly average in MLB history to stay put with the New York Yankees. Okay.
He doesn't want to play there.
I think that's probably not, but I guarantee the Giants will give him the same contract, if not more. And he's from in that area. I would say, if I had to say, if we were really trying to be hypothetical and serious here, DeGrom would be a better shot because he lives here, and you'd have a better shot there to convince him. But even then, come on, there's no way. Look at look at the contract that Max Scherzer got last year. DeGrom's probably going to get something near that.
Is Boris DeGrom's agent?
Oh, that's a good question. If it's Scott Boras, then we should probably just stop talking.
We're not talking to him. You guys.
No, I'm saying that we should just stop talking about it. Then.
We should. I'm just pointing out the complete idiocy of anybody talking about Jacob deGrom coming to the Rays. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, he's not a Boris agent.
Okay. So whatever. He's not coming here. This just in. Pat Maroon. I don't know if you saw this story. Evidently, Jack Edwards, who's your Boston Bruins play-by-play guy, was body shaming Pat Maroon, fat shaming Pat Maroon.
He was.
And Pat responded by putting out what I thought was a really good answer to that, being fat shamed by Jack Edwards. Trying to think if I have it here. I think I retweeted it or put it on my
I got it right here.
Instagram. Go ahead.
I got it right here. He said, in support of those struggling with mental health, bullying, and body image, I am making a $2,000 donation in the name of Jack Edwards to Tampa Bay Thrives, and I encourage the Lightning and NHL fans to join me. Donate here, and he put a link. And this has taken off big time yesterday. It's got over 7,000 retweets and 41,000 likes, Pat Maroon's tweet. And a lot of Lightning players have already donated. I saw Stamkos and some other guys putting it on there. Other teams, like the Carolina Hurricanes, I think, were one of the teams that even put it up there and donated. So it kind of took off like wildfire. I mean, we weren't watching the Boston telecast, obviously, to hear this, but let's see. We could play the audio here for those who haven't heard it, though.
Yeah.
Courtesy of, what is that, NESN up there?
Yeah.
Yep.
NESN.
Listed at 238 pounds. That was day one of training camp. I got a feeling he's had a few more pizzas between then and now.
Pizzas.
Before pregame. Yeah, right. Fasting. Chris, inadvertent fasting for Pat Maroon is like 4 hours without a meal. But hey, 3 cups in a row. Who can argue with his formula?
He kind of came back at the end there with a nice little pat on the back.
I was being a sarcastic ass, in my opinion.
A few more pizzas. By the way, it's not inadvertent fasting; it's intermittent fasting.
Listen, Jack Edwards is known for being a typical Boston jackass, and says things every broadcast that everybody kind of turns their head at, and that was one of them. It was just odd. Like, you went 40 seconds we have 2 top teams playing each other. It's a hell of a hockey game, and you spent 40 straight seconds just randomly ranting about Pat Maroon's weight.
It's a little bizarre.
It's a little bizarre. Even if you might think the comments are not that serious or anything, it's just a bizarre thing to say for 40 seconds. And you heard that, like, there was like 10 seconds of silence because his color guy was like,
I'm not jumping in here, bro.
yeah, like, what do you want me to say?
It's like me working with Ron Diaz. I'm like, I'm not jumping in on talking about 18-year-old half-naked girls on the website. Sorry. And for that, he got very mad at me. Very mad at me. Sorry. The NHL has, and I applaud Pat Maroon for what he's doing. No question about it. What Jack said, that's completely out of line. And although the NHL is a place where guys get chided, and they are, NHL players are notoriously ruthless when it comes to making jokes about people and their appearance and everything else. I mean, it's so, is Jack Edwards kind of falling in line there? Yeah, he is, but you can't do that on a broadcast. That's not professional. It's not professional. It's a little much. So I ain't getting as bent out of shape as others. Listen, there's a lot of other stuff going on with the NHL that I think fans are having problems with. I'm not going to get into it, but it's just it's the world we live in now. That it's everything is going to be put under a microscope. There's no doubt about that. The college football playoff, my friend. Breaking news on this. They are now. We had thought that it was going to happen in 2 years. There was a hang up with the Rose Bowl. Now the Rose Bowl has fallen in line. So now it is official. There'll be this year's playoff and next year's. And so starting in the 2024 season, the 2024 season, we're going to 12. We're going to 12. And man, what a year it would be for 12.
This is the first year. I've been team 4. I've been on the side of 4-team playoff in the minority for all this time, because in general, I've always thought in football, it's a little bit different. Like, to me, there always is like 2 or 3 teams that stand above the rest. And I don't, like, last year, I didn't need to see Georgia play Pitt in the first. I didn't need to see that matchup. I know how that was going to go. This year, if you're doing it right now, think of it like this. The first 4 teams would get a bye, and then the 5 would play the 12 seed, I believe. So if you do that, it'd be under what it is right now, Ohio State versus the winner of Tulane UCF.
Yeah,
would go there. And then 6 is
or
Alabama.
Florida State might move up into 12 after both those teams embarrass themselves.
Well, I believe though, I still believe though that UCF and Tulane would be the 12 seed regardless because they're the group of 5 bid.
Right.
And then you'd have Alabama 6, and they'd be playing like maybe Florida State, for instance, would hop up there or something like that. Like it would create for all these games, and it'd be on campus games, first round.
Yeah. And here's the other thing. We talk about needing parity in college football, right?
Yes.
You know what creates parity? I think if you're a recruit now, you look at and you're like the 5-star, you're the best of the best. You can pick whatever school you want to go to, right? Do you want to go to Texas? They're not in the playoff. They don't get. I love Texas. I want to be there. They never get in the playoff.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? 12-team playoff. Kids can say, well, we might get into play. Same thing with FSU. Same thing with Florida. Same thing with UCF. Right? It's like, I'm a 5-star. I'm not going to go to UCF or Florida State because I go to Georgia. I know they're going to be in the playoff.
Yeah.
I go to Alabama. I know they're going to be in playoff while I'm there at some point. If I go to Ohio State, I know they're going to be in the playoff. There's certain these top 5, top 6 programs that keep getting all the 5-stars, right? It's because guys go, well, if I got my pick, why don't I go where it's going to be most visible? Now you open it up to 12 teams. You're going to have if you're a recruit, you're going to be like, oh, well, Florida State went to the playoff 2 of the last 4 years. Well, if it's still 4, you can't say that.
Yeah.
And so I think it brings out so many more teams that the 5-stars can make a case to themselves. You know what? I'm going to go to Florida State. I'm going to go to Florida. I'm going to go to Miami. I'm going to go to, still South Alabama ain't got that shot. Liberty ain't got that shot. But, you're still, I think you bring the sphere of possibilities for these really, really top stars to go to these programs. And
some of these programs that are sleeping giants right now that I think right now have hardly any chance to get back into it. This gives them a lifeline, like a Nebraska.
Right.
Like other than having this playoff, what is the reason for a recruit to go to Nebraska right now?
Nothing. Their history.
Their history,
which is ancient.
But every recruit now wasn't even born when they had their history.
Exactly. Nobody knows that.
So like a place like Nebraska has, to me right now, it's hard to get back in there. I thought Miami, the further we get along here, now they're recruiting at an elite rate.
They are
Miami,
still. And
they're getting transfer portal. So take this year with a grain of salt for Mario Cristobal. I'm sure they're going to be rocking in a couple years.
Yeah.
And it's going to be great. But yeah, I think it provides a lifeline for some of these programs who are struggling to get back to some of their prestige. And I think I heard if you had the 12-team playoff, because we talked about it, how there's only been a handful of programs that can actually get in year to year. If you had it for all these years, you would have had 43 different programs who would have qualified for the college football playoff.
There you go.
If you had 12 teams.
There you go.
43. That's parity. That's 1/3 of FBS.
And you can't sit here and tell me, well, they have no shot to win it. Well, yes, they do. I mean, what if the number 1 team, what if Georgia lost Stetson Bennett and and who's their defensive captain now? Anyway, what if they lost 2 key players during the playoff? Things happen. You got more games to win against more quality opponents. Sometimes you get teams in there, even though they've played an 11-game or an 8 or 9-game conference schedule in the sometimes in the SEC, sometimes certainly in the Big 10 and the Big 12. Teams are down, or you play certain teams when they don't have their quarterback, and you sneak through, and then you get in the playoff and you get housed.
Yeah, and how about these bowl games?
And teams that are playing really well at the end of the season, like Florida State, gets in there and say, Florida State's a way different team now than they were during that 3-game stretch when they had 4 key players hurt.
Yeah, and how about this? From the Pac-12 has been struggling to get into the playoff for a long time now. This year, they have 6 teams ranked in the top 17. 6. And if USC loses, they might not get a single team in the playoff, and they're going to have 6 in the top 17. If we did a 12-teamer, they'd have 3 to 4 teams in the playoff.
Yeah,
that's the difference right there.
And there's upsets every
year. And bowl games
week.
too. I would the Rose Bowl has already made a stand. They're not going to pick Ohio State this year again. They're going to, even though they're ranked ahead of Penn State, they're going to put Penn State in the Rose Bowl. That's already like the reports that are coming out. And because Ohio State has their players sit in the Rose Bowl every year. Like, who wants to see that? Top players sitting in bowl games when you have this.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
So all these big bowl games where guys are sitting, it's not going to happen anymore because you're in a playoff.
Right. Exactly. And we got to get rid of that. I mean, it would just, so many of these bowl games are just, it's not even the same team. It's almost like a preseason game for next year. And that shouldn't be the case. And don't get me wrong. I fully support these players that are not playing because they're not getting it. They get a nice swag bag, but I'm not putting myself out there if I'm a professional prospect. You just can't do it. You got to give them something more to play for. And they're just.
Oh, by the way, this is a good comment from T Corral. I can't believe this. I can't believe you forgot this one. We were talking about that religious discussion. Bobby Bowden was very religious at FSU, and number one party school in the country. How many years in a row? I know I was there, and so were you.
Yeah, way different political atmosphere when Bobby Bowden was coaching. Okay, I'm talking about these college campuses right now are very anti-Christian. They're very anti-religion. As a whole, let's just be honest about what's happening politically on college campuses. Yeah, Bobby Bowden. If Bobby Bowden was coaching right now, there'd be protests. There'd be, him making them players go to church a couple times in the beginning. They would go to a historically black church and a historically white church, but he never forced it upon his players. But he,
holy hell,
what happened?
We got the Antonio Brown report here finally.
Okay.
Somehow it's almost worse than I thought it was going to be. According to court docs, the mother of his 4 kids says he locked her out of her Tampa house, tossed out her belongings, then threatened to shoot her, threw a shoe at her, and then refused Tampa Bay PD's request to come out.
So he barricaded himself in with the kids.
Wow.
And probably had a gun.
This is Antonio Brown is a scum piece of human on this earth.
That shocks you?
Scum. I'm somehow shocked. I'm somehow shocked at it.
The dude.
I don't even know.
We saw him.
I don't even know if it's
exposing himself in a hotel.
Everybody keeps
and rubbing up against another.
Yeah, well, everybody's making excuses for him all the time, and
I never have.
And the CTE stuff, and you know what? I'm mindful of that, but at some point I don't know what else to say about this guy.
He's a turd of a human being and always has been. We luckily Tom Brady somehow found a way to keep him on a straight and narrow for half a season or one season or whatever it was, so we could win a Super Bowl. But you knew he was always going to go back to being the guy that he is. And I said this the last time, that somebody needs to intervene, or it's going to end badly for all of those children and that woman. Trust me. And if they just put him back on the street, something very, very bad is going to happen. But they keep doing it, and at some point he's going to do something very, very, very bad, and we're going to sit here and go, now 4 people are dead, including children, and we keep just letting this guy out and saying, oh, it's just CTE. No, the dude is a menace to society, and the fact that he still lives here in Tampa does concern me. It really does concern me.
I don't want him here in Tampa anymore.
No, absolutely.
Hey, by the way, I know we're over it, but real quick, just before we go on a lighter note, I could do a little World Cup update real quick.
Yes, let's do that.
Just a little daily World Cup update. This just happened. Belgium, one of the tournament favorites, the second-ranked team in the world, has failed to get out of the group stage.
Oh, my God.
Belgium, their golden generation, which has been going on now for about a decade. This is their golden generation. They have never had the set of players they have now, world-class players. This was their last chance to make something of it, and they go home in the group stage, and now this is it. Golden generation's done, and they're
second-ranked team in the world.
Second-ranked team in the world, and they didn't win it. And they didn't win anything in this golden generation. Underachieved the entire way through, and they didn't get out of the group.
It's not just
Morocco wins the group.
It's not just talent.
Yep, Morocco wins the group.
You got to play as a team.
Canada's going home. Mexico's going home. The USA is the only one standing over here.
Bye, Canada. Bye, Mexico. Bye, Belgium.
The USA is better at soccer than Mexico.
I heard some people actually last night, I think it was Taylor Twellman, talking about the United States getting to the semifinals. Come on.
Do you know what they have to go through to get there? They got to go through the Netherlands, which is really tough. Likely then Argentina. Oh, and if you get past them, Brazil's waiting for you.
So
and then if you get past them, France is waiting for you in the final. That's kind of like the way the bracket goes out right now. That's kind of how it would look, assuming the favorites win.
Right.
It ain't happening.
Of course not.
You're going to be fortunate to beat the Netherlands, and then after that, you're literally just crossing your fingers that you can get a counterattack goal or something against one of those other teams.
And there you go. There's your World Cup update.
There you go.
All right. Our thanks to Scott Reynolds. Had a great conversation with him today. It's always fun to check with him with the Pewter Report. We'll be back tomorrow to set up all the games, the conference championship games for college football. We'll have some guests for you in that regard. And we'll have an update on the USF coaching search. So we'll have it all for you tomorrow as well. Keep an eye on our social media. Have a great day, everybody.